envision 3 female attorneys coming together to have our voices heard. Each of us would have different opinions, different passions, different backgrounds, and different views. Although we are different and unique, we are able to come together to discuss our experiences, navigating through the legal profession and this thing called life. Now, the vision has come alive, and we invite you each and every week to listen to us as we talk about what's trending in the news and our legal insight, tackle real-life issues that affect not only us as attorneys, but us as women of color. Disclaimer: this podcast is intended to provide entertainment and general information. The information provided and the views given are not intended to constitute legal advice and should not be relied upon as legal representation. All views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not represent the opinions of any entity whatsoever we are affiliated with now or will be affiliated with in the future. Hey guys, it's your girl Brandy, and your favorite attorneys are back. Happy August. This is our anniversary month, so we are very excited. We are very, very excited. And it's also, I had to say very a couple of times, like very excited.
I was going to say, hey, how excited are we? We don't look very excited.
Right, my bad. Well, we grabbed it. We made a year. We made a year. It's our, we did, yay. And
Serena, you could at least given us a slow clap.
Like, we're real working attorneys here, and I'm tired. So
make that money. Don't let it make you.
We didn't get a vacation, right? We didn't get time off.
So we have definitely been on a break in July. So, we're coming back. We're coming back this month in August strong. This month is also National Black Business Month. So we're excited about that too. But before we get started, let's make some introductions, reintroduce ourselves since, we're a year old now. So, T Hutch, tell our people what's up.
Happy 1-year anniversary. Hey guys, it's Taria. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Is she getting younger? Absolutely. Drinking water and minding your business will clear all your skin up.
When we got to flip the hair?
No. It still comes back.
Sam
Phrase. Happy anniversary.
Taria, nobody was thinking that. Okay, first of all. Okay.
Give out the tip.
Second, happy 1-year anniversary. We have some great things in store for y'all this second year. So I'm excited. Are y'all excited? I'm excited.
I said I was excited and I gave out a tip. See, I did a lot.
Yeah, but Taria, you was like, I'm excited.
I am excited. My excitement's in this inside. This joy that I have, the world did not give it to me. You know what I
mean? Taria is keeping her excited.
Well, we got 30
on the inside.
We got some, we got about 20 something days left in this month. So, we can't get it all out right now.
That's true. That's true. Pace yourself.
Okay. Right.
So did Beyonce teach you that, Sam? Pace yourself.
Did she?
Black is king. That's what she taught me. Black is king. I'm the king around here. See? Y'all got me cutting up.
Can we get some coinage for saying that on the show?
No, you didn't get it. You didn't get it. You didn't cash your check.
Right. It's still in the mail.
Check the mail. When you get back to Houston, check the mail, bro.
Okay.
It'll be there.
Uh-huh. So we have a really good, this is a great way for our 1-year anniversary and also to celebrate National Black Business Month for the month of August is to talk about the key steps to running a successful business. So we have 2 awesome guests on the show. We have a good friend of mine, and she's like a little sister to me, and she is killing the game when it comes to corporate law and trademark and patent law. So I would love for her to introduce herself.
Hi, I have to take myself off mute because I'm a mute talker. I'm like, what can you hear me? So my name is Jordan Franklin. I am an associate attorney with Kearney, McWilliams & Davis, PLLC. We have 5 offices, so I work out of the Houston office. I am primarily in the IP section, so I do everything from trademark filings to trademark litigation. And I also help with business formations and contract work. So that is what I do. My specialty is small businesses primarily. And of course, being the only person of color at the law firm, I tend to have most of my clientele being people of color as well. So yeah, so it was like that when I was solo, and it will continue to be like that regardless of what organization I'm with. I believe in uplifting us. So yeah, there's that. That's me.
Okay, come on, Black Girl Magic. Yes.
Yes.
He
Oh, and
trademarked.
Jordan, tell us what IP means. Some of us,
Oh,
you know.
sorry. I just be throwing acronyms out there, thinking like everybody knows. So IP is an acronym for intellectual property. Intellectual property is an umbrella term that is used to house three main areas of law. That is patent law, trademark law, and copyright law. Then everything else is kind of subsidiaries underneath the three. But IP stands for intellectual property.
All right, we're
Right.
gonna have you talk about that. And our other awesome guest to start off National Black Business Month. I mean, he killing it with the RV park and the coffee shop. Like, how many Black people own RV parks? How about that? Which that is
How
super.
about it?
Like, we're gonna have him introduce himself. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony. I go by AJ. As you guys said, me and my wife and I, we're small business owners. We started out in the corporate world, and then we decided to take that dive, that leap of faith. And so, yeah, it's been a journey, and I'm sure we'll get to that later. But I do have to say, man, it is. I don't even know how I can describe how I feel right now to be surrounded by such intelligent Black women. I mean, it really is. It's encouraging, man. It makes me feel good. I almost wish you guys would have invited my wife because she'd have just felt right on in with you all. So
We're
again,
gonna have to bring your wife on for another show.
I'm
You
gonna
know,
Right.
dealing with AJ.
you gonna need more than this hour, I'll tell you. Yeah, so I'm glad to be here though. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's go ahead and get started. So Jordan, you did mention a lot about IP, intellectual property, trademark, copyright, and you talked about you did business formation. So let's start with the very basics, with the business formation entities. Tell us, as for small business owners, those that are looking to, or maybe wanting to, or maybe have a side hustle that want to turn it into more of a lucrative and their main job or career, like what do they need to do? Like, what is a DBA and what is an LLC? Let's start with those two first, and then what is the difference between the two?
Okay, so a DBA, I don't want to call it nothing, but it's nothing. It is an assumed name. So it is just like, so DBA stands for doing business as. Legally is referred to as an assumed name. So that is you doing business as whatever. So it's almost like conducting business under a nickname, but it's still you, a person. That's about as simple as I can put it. An LLC is a formal business entity. And what I mean by formal is you actually have to file something to for it to become an LLC, unlike a partnership or sole proprietorship, which I can touch on those later if you want me to. But an LLC is something that you have to formally file to be recognized as a business in whatever your prospective state is. With that comes different tax responsibilities and all of those things. But the benefit with having an LLC, and I tell businesses this, especially I call them my 4 liability businesses, high liability businesses, that's hair, skin, nails, food. You need that LLC because the LL stands for limited liability. And what it does is that it shields you personally from any of your business dealings to kind of make a complicated response as simplified as I possibly can. So the main difference is LLCs are something that's formally filed and recognized by your state Secretary of State, whereas the DBA is not. About as simple as I can put it.
So then you were saying that basically a DBA is pretty much nothing. So if somebody has a DBA and they get sued, versus like not having an LLC? Do they have any protections under a DBA?
No. When you have a DBA and you haven't formally filed anything, your entity type is a sole proprietorship. So I said I was going to touch on that. A sole proprietor is just one individual conducting business. So when that happens, your personal liability, including all of your personal assets, is wide open in the event of any type of suit, and in the event that damages are rendered in that suit, and then there's a judgment against you. Your personal finances, your bank account, your home, any personal assets that you hold are susceptible to seizure, being turned over, whatever that looks like. You have no shield as a DBA, but you have a shield as an LLC. There's like small exceptions, but we're not going to get into those because it's going to get a little bit too deep. But an LLC will give your personal assets a shield that a DBA will not.
So Jordan, I have a question for you.
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
because you use a lot of words, you know, and some of our audience members, they may not be familiar with these terms. You know, as lawyers, we talk about damages and remedies and tax implications. So let's use an example. Let's say I own a rib shack and I make the best ribs, right? But I really didn't feel like filling out all that paperwork, right? I just want to make ribs. So I make some ribs, right? And I mean, normally they really good. But one of my customers ends up getting sick from eating one of my ribs. Mm-hmm. And he ends up having to have one of his ribs taken out because of my ribs.
Okay.
Now, like I said, I didn't really feel like doing the paperwork. So I just did a DBA because my auntie who does hair out of her house, that's what she has, and that's fine.
Right.
Okay. So then he sues me. Right. And he gets a judgment for all his medical bills. Let's just say $100,000. Okay. So what you're telling me is that if he has a judgment against $100,000, if I have a DBA, he can get a lien against my house, maybe?
Absolutely. You can get your bank account. He can get that brand new Jetta you got out there. I hope he like Jettas because it's gonna be his.
Wait, now when you say bank account, you mean the bank account for my rib shack, not my personal bank account, right?
Oh no, both. If you got $25K in your personal, but you got, $15K in the rib shack, both of them. Yeah.
Oh. So then if I did an LLC, what would have happened, Jordan? What would he
Only get? The amount that you have in the Rib Shack account. If it's Rib Shack LLC, that's it. He can't come after that Jetta unless the Jetta got a Rib Shack sticker on the side. Then he may be able to argue that it's a company vehicle. But that's down the line. So yeah.
Okay.
So then what if I want to be fancy?
I think we should, but hold on one sec. I think we should, I totally understand what you're saying, but I think let's not downplay what a DBA still means though. DBA is a starting point for a lot of people because LLC does cost money to get to. And so I think allowing people to start with the DBA still gives them a stepping stone into starting their businesses, correct?
It does, but the reason why I said those 4 industries is because it doesn't matter if you're starting, if somebody gets sick from eating your food, you're still wide open. So yes, the DBA is a starting point, but if you're in a high liability industry like food, hair, skin, nails, yes, an LLC is more expensive, but protect yourself from the beginning and not when it's too late.
But I just don't want people thinking when they listen to this that if they have a DBA, until they can collect the because it takes $300, right, to get the LLC, correct?
Absolutely. And
okay, so until they get the $300 to close their business down, that's not what we're saying here. What we're saying is,
but maybe you should
that at all. But I'm also saying pay $300 now and not $30,000 in a judgment later.
Can I chime in?
I don't want to just
Hold on. Go ahead, AJ.
I think that leads to like even a deeper question is really understanding what businesses is, right? And I think part of in our community, Black community, we don't really have that historical data or understanding about businesses, right? And so we're like, okay, hey, I can't afford to do it, so I'm just going to wait. And no, the reality is, when it comes to business, they don't care about what you can afford to do. It's what the law tells you, and if you're not careful, you can really hurt yourself where you end up getting started. And so I think, again, when we start talking about businesses, especially being an entrepreneur, that you really want to have all those protections, because you can end up, would you rather lose $5,000 or 50,000, right? And so that is the way that I preface it, I view it. But I do agree, though, it is something empowering about having something in your name. And so a lot of people, they take pride in the DBA, which is fine. That is totally fine. But like I said, I definitely agree with Miss Franklin about the LLC, the protections, because we live in a litigious society. That's how you gotta stay employed, right? People sue all the time. So
Depending on what side you're on, I might say, go ahead with your DBA. Because if somebody gets sick, call me. Because I'm gonna sue you.
Yeah.
Yes. What are some of the other entities, though, Jordan, that people can do if they don't want to do an LLC? Like maybe an S corp.
So the thing about that is, I kind of err people on the side of caution. So an S corp is a tax distinction. The underlying entity or the underlying business type is a corporation. That corporation can elect either S or C taxation. That's all those letters mean. SC is literally the difference between a form you file with the LLC with how you are taxed. Mm-hmm. When you are a smaller business, a corporate structure may not be the best for you. And the reason why is because, unlike an LLC, which is not as regulated, corporations are actually very much so regulated. You are required to have an annual meeting by law. You are not, an annual is once a year. You are not required to have yearly meetings as an LLC. As a corporation, you are required to have officers. You may be required, depending on your state, to also have a board of directors. You are not if you are an LLC. So LLCs are fairly new. What I mean by new, they've only been around for maybe about 15 years. So they were created to be a hybrid for people who kind of want the same protections that you get as a corporation. Corporations have that liability shield that an LLC has. So for those who, and then also LLCs are the only business type that can choose how it is taxed. So you can be an LLC, but elect S Corp taxation. You can be an LLC and elect to be taxed like a partnership if there's more than two of y'all in it. So LLCs are the only entity type that has that flexibility to pick how it's taxed. It's not as regulated as a corporation, which is why a lot of people kind of flock to it. Because it is that hybrid that kind of gives you everything you need in a corporation without all the regulations that a state would have on you.
Gotcha. I think in conclusion that I still say if you start with the DBA, I think you're still a business. But once you want to make the move up, I think you should talk to a transactional lawyer, because a lot of stuff that just got said probably went over a lot of people's heads. And so it just says you need to go talk to a transactional lawyer like Jordan and get as much information as you need as to what you need to do and what type of business will work perfectly for you.
Now, see, Taria, you're using more words because Jordan said
transactional?
Yes, transactional. What does that mean?
Paper, businesses, what Jordan does. It's a blanket area for what Jordan does. So if you have a business, then you want to go talk to someone who's a business lawyer who handles incorporations, nonprofits, and he or she can walk you into, do you need an LLC? Do you need a PLLC? Do you need S Corp or whatever works for you and your business? I think at the end of the day, we always say law is not black and white, it's gray. And so just because your friend has an LLC, that might not be the best category for your business. And so talking to someone, I think, is the best thing to do.
So AJ, I want to transition into your background. So did you like tell us a little bit again about your RV park, and then as a small business owner, what are some of the entities that you decided to like for you and your wife's business, and maybe the struggles or the downfalls that you had and the successes?
That's a loaded question, but my background is engineering. I actually went to undergrad with Sam Sickle Bears. And start out in telecom. Okay, Jordan, I didn't know that. That's yeah, I can see the brilliance emanating from you. And then I started off in telecom, and then I got my master's in electrical engineering as well out in Dallas, and then moved over to defense. Moved out of state for a few years, then came back. Uh, then actually I quit my job. Yep, I left the corporate gig, left a 6-figure paying job. My grandma wanted to kill me, and struck out on my own with our ventures, the RV park, which was not intended to be an RV park at all, actually. And before I even get to the history of that, I just want to kind of just double back briefly, if I could, to Jordan's comment um, about the LLCs, and really just to help demystify, because a lot of people think this, when you say LLC, is some ominous thing, right? But it's literally just a piece of paper that says your business exists, right? Ultimately, and I think a lot of people, since it's so foreign, they think it's some kind of gargantuan. I tell them all the time, you can file an LLC from your phone, like just like you create an online profile for anything else, really. You know what I mean? And there are services that will handle that for you. You know what I mean? At an additional cost. So it is not as mysterious or as large as a lot of people seem to make it seem. And so, just real quick, the RV park actually did not start off as an RV park. I just wanted some land, simple as that. It was really a God thing. My wife and I looked at a piece of property. We called the realtor actually, and the realtor I intended to call didn't answer, and another guy, he answered the phone, and he was like, "I can help you out." And so we put in the offer. They didn't accept the offer, right? However, the guy that I talked to, who I wasn't supposed to talk to, had a cousin who had some land that was getting ready to hit the market and hadn't quite hit it yet. So it was his cousin that I ended up buying the land from, and it was really a prime piece of property. Had a mobile home on it. That was it, y'all. Mobile home. I was gonna rent that mobile home out. This is my plan. It was on like 7 acres. I'm gonna just rent this mobile home out, $800 a month, all bills paid. That was it. I had no idea what I was gonna do with the rest of the land. My father-in-law was like, "Man, you got a septic system." I was like, "What's a septic system?" He was like, "Well, you can put some RVs in there." So we literally, my wife and I went to an RV store a lot, and we just started looking at RVs like, "Man, these are nice. These are nice." And so, we bought a few, ran them out, and then they were doing well on a weekly rates, kind of like a mini hotel. Then the county came in and gets guys for insulating yourself. They're like, "Look, man, you look like you're building an RV park." I said, "Yeah." So it's my land. They're like, "Nah, you got to have the permits." So I had to go through all of the permitting processes, from the septic, environmental, fire marshal, drainage, et cetera, et cetera. And then from just that, spawned our construction company from all the equipment we bought to build the park. And then the coffee shop is a fulfillment of my wife's dream. So I just want to keep it.
Wait, so let me get this straight, AJ. So you started a construction company from finding out that you needed to have some permits and construction done.
Well, similar, we were. I mean, it was raw land, right? So we had to put in the septic, the water, the power, and all that. And so we bought, tractors, dump trailers, rollers to build the road, because we needed it, right? And so
And so I would like the audience to just kind of take that in on ingenuity, because with the construction company, those are now business expenses, and that's another business that you now just didn't. Oh God, I have all these permits that I have to pay, and I just have to eat all this cost. Now you can't always do that, right? But I just thought that that was as you would say, AJ, free game. Like
no, but
it's
the one thing I do want to share with people, especially when it comes to business, is that you don't know how it's going to end. So you have to be open to things as they change, right? Like all you know is you just start, right? Now, being a man of faith, just believing in the vision God had given me, I didn't know it was going to spawn into what it did. I simply started. And then once I started, God carried it through to the point where people were coming around. They were like, hey, AJ, can you tear down the house? Especially because we're in the area with Harvey, right? And a lot of things people flooded. So a lot of people need their homes demoed so they can get new builds. Like, hey, AJ, can you tear down the house? It's like, well, look, I got a backhoe. I got a dump trailer. Sure, I guess I can. Well, how much are you going to charge? Well, the first time we did it, I think we probably lost I probably made about $1,000, right? And then second, or I lost 500, something like that. It was like, okay, the next time I do it, and so that's how I started getting my pricing and all that. But it was never in my mind that I was going to either have an RV park or a construction company. It was only to buy land. And again, you put your plan in God's hand, He will take it further than you could ever do.
So AJ, would you say that you should anticipate business loss when you're starting a business? That you're gonna take some L's?
Oh man, yeah, you're gonna take a loss starting off a business regardless. I mean, the idea is how much loss you want to make because it's all risk. People ask me all the time, like, AJ, how did you know it was going to get there? I didn't. I really didn't. Like, and I tell you, I am the wrong person to talk about like your dreams and all that. Cause I'm totally unconventional when it comes to financing your dreams, right? I cashed out my 401k completely, and and as I see capital into my dream, and now it has blossomed more than I would have ever made had I left in the 401k. But at the same time, yeah, you're gonna take some losses. You know what I'm saying? You have to learn from them. If you think you're gonna get in business, in any business, and hit the ground running and just make money on top of money on top of money, nah, that ain't how it happens. Because when especially you start to see the people around you and people's eyes get big when those dollar signs come in, then you still got the bills, expenses, taxes. You know what I mean? Like people, people like to forget about taxes, but yeah, if you don't have enough stuff to write off and all that, those taxes come back, man. And Uncle Sam, listen, he gonna get his. I don't.
Have you ever at one point think about going into like going back to a 9 to 5? Like when you were going through those struggles, like you grinding and hustling, did you ever think about going back to your 9 to 5?
Not really. I think the scariest part is when I quit. Like when I walked out of that job, I remember I was, gave my badge and I was walking to my car and I was like, Negro, what did you just do? You're so used to having that, that bi-weekly coming in, right? But then, like I said, there is a certain liberty because I know a lot of people think, money isn't everything, despite what a lot of people say. But the liberty that you have to be, to like really make your own schedule, make the decisions, not be subject to someone else, that's freeing. However, at the same time, when you got to pay yourself, that's a whole different ballgame. So there were some lean times. Don't get me wrong, y'all. There was sometimes like, starting off, being an engineer, I was single. My wife, she was a single professional, single executive. So we got together. We had a little bit of money, right? And so you go from, being able to go get what you want to seeing that account dwindle to eventually going overdraft to be like, dang, babe, what we
And you have kids, right, AJ?
on top of that, right? You know what I mean? So it is scary, but it's worth it. So to answer your question, going back to my 9 to 5, no, but I'm very technical, and so now I consult and I contract as an engineer, but I don't think I will personally ever go back full time as an employee. I mean, as an employee, but I still haven't seen a figure that could make me change my mind because we know with new information comes new decisions. So at this time, no, I don't plan on, but you never say never.
And Jordan, I want to bring this question back to you because you did start out having your own law firm for a while when you came out of law school and passed the bar and things like that. And now you went from having your law firm to going into a corporate firm. So just talk a little bit about because yours was kind of opposite in the sense of what AJ did. So I just want you to tell our listeners about your background and what made you decide to go from being your own to working into a firm.
I think for me, I hit a ceiling quickly. I started to outgrow myself very fast and I didn't have any help. So I'm like, okay, what are my next steps? it was hard for me to find somewhere that still allowed me to work how I like to work. The thing that I think drew me to this firm, kind of like what AJ was saying, they sent me an offer I couldn't refuse. And I was like, well, okay. Salary was, of course, great, but not only that, they're allowing me to work how I work. They're not chaining me to a desk. They actually want me to, kind of hustle the way I'm used to hustling. And then I have support that I didn't have by myself. I think that's the biggest thing. There's really only so far you can go by yourself, but also kind of bigger picture. I look like 5-10 years down the line, and I'm like, where do I want to be my career? I have a very clear vision of where that is and what I needed to do to get there. So this is kind of a part of, those things that I have been praying for and those conversations that I have had with God. And I feel like when this door opened, I was like, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. And then too, AJ kind of touched on it. I'm a person of vision and faith as well. So I felt like if the door opened, that's because God blessed it before I got there. So, when the opportunity presented itself, I was like, okay, let's do it. It was a transition because I was used to being by myself to now having a superior to report to. So that's been an adjustment. But for the most part, they give me a lot of freedom. They give me a lot of creative freedom to work. And then they're kind of already positioning me to be like number 2 in the IP department underneath the managing attorney now. So that was another benefit too, who happens to also be a Baylor alum. I think that's probably what did it.
I think we should talk a little bit about those things because AJ touched a nail on the head, hit the nail on the head about some other opportunity. There are other things that are important to you, like vision, building your personal brand over money. For example, I one time had my own practice too, and I went and worked for someone else. But part of it, it really didn't have to do with money, but it had to do with it wanting to expand and take on more complex
Yeah.
Type of cases for me.
Yeah.
And the firm that I work at now, my boss is 30 years in, she has all these accolades and everything like that. And I really wanted to work under somebody who had done a little bit more complex because I started to get in some of the same type of cases.
Right.
So let's talk about some of the other things that you guys looked for when you decided, hey, I'm going to shut down my business, go work for someone else, or I'm going to leave my 9 to 5 and completely start my own business. Some of the things aside from money that you considered.
I'll jump out there. For me, it was my kids, man. I wanted to, my younger brother, he said something one time in jest, but it really stuck with me. It said, your kids can't inherit your food stamps. And, you know, and like I said, I wanted to leave something, for my children so that they would have, just a higher launching pad than I did, right? Because, I mean, these gigs are great, right? But at the end of the day, something happens and they say, hey, man, like COVID right now, a lot of people, they're like, yo, hey, we just can't afford to keep you right now. You know what I mean? And being laid off. And that was a big enough fear for me to risk what I already had to try to have some. So now, if the case of the company I'm contracted with, they come back and say, hey, Anthony, we don't need you no more. Cool. My life would not change really that much, right? And so I think that was, it was risking the short term or immediate security for the long term, and not just for me. Because like whenever you make decisions based just on yourself, it's limited, right? But when you make decisions based on the loved ones or people away from you, it you can't help but start to think bigger. And so that's what it was for me.
I know for me, I'm a single woman, so I don't have a family or kids or anything like that, even though that is something I think about in the future. My thing was for what I want to do and where I want to be in the next 3 years. It's like, what do I need to do to get to that point? What do I need to learn? And kind of going off of what you just said, Samantha, this firm presented an opportunity for me to learn more. and to kind of expand what it was that I have been exposed to where when I get to the position that I want, which is in-house for particularly a major luxury brand, getting to that point, there's a lot more things that I need to make sure that I am aware of and that I know. So this was kind of a check off that box, like, will this opportunity present those things for me that I need for the next level? And I think mentorship is big. So my mentor is exactly where I want to be in the next 3 to 5 years. She's in the position with the company. And her and I built a really strong relationship over the last few years. So one of the last times I was in New York before COVID, I was just kind of like, if you were looking for your replacement, what skills would that person need to have? And she told me. So I was like, okay, let me go back, and now I need to make sure I have all of these things. So yeah, it was growth and a learning opportunity for me that kind of pushed me out of the comfort of being by myself into something new.
So then, like, let's switch gears for a second too. So both of y'all have basically experienced, both like are experiencing being a business owner. So this is for both of y'all. What tips do you have to be successful, or to start out? Like, what tips do you have for somebody who is listening to this episode and they're thinking, hey, I want to be my own entrepreneur. Like, what do I do? I mean, they're listening to it and they're like, yeah, you stepped out on faith, but there's still people that are still a little scared because they don't want to lose that 9 to 5. They don't want to lose that steady income. And also too, we're in COVID, so this may not be the time, but still somebody still has that burning desire to want to be their own boss. Like, what tips do you have?
I can start off, Jordan, if you don't mind. The first thing I tell people, especially when starting a business, is two things you have to have immediate first. First of all, there has to be a need for whatever business that you want to do. And you have to have people who desire to pay for it, right? Or you have to be able to meet that need. And so that's something. So a lot of times there are some things that people want to do, and that may be cool, like you good at that, but ain't nobody going to pay for that. You know what I mean? So there is some common sense to it a little bit, but at the same time, if you have a vision, and if you know what I'm saying, and you know that's the vision you're supposed to, you have an obligation to yourself to try, right? And I think that's what happens with most people, is that they don't try, right? And I really wish more people were business owners. I think you would see a lot more kindness in the world, because once you own a business, you know how much it takes. Not only do y'all know how much it takes to have a profitable business? Not just be in business, right? But have a business that makes money. That's a sustained effort over an extended period of time. We're talking about 6 months to a year. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't start making money at the RV park till like 2.5, 3 years in. You know what I mean? And so, like, I think I don't want to get off track, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get too long with it.
No, I agree. I think one of the most important things to do as a starting business is to research first. Just like exactly what you said, you got to do your homework. And for those who have 9 to 5s who, are hesitant to leave, if you're hesitant to leave, just use your 9 to 5. I say, if you have a 9 to 5, you're trying to start a side business, which you want to eventually be your full-time business. I say, look at that 9 to 5 as your primary investor. That's pretty much what it is until you get to a position to where you don't need it anymore. But exactly what AJ said, do some research, because if your market is in in the red right now, you may want to spend this time to plan, because everything is cyclical. So if your market or your potential market is in the red, this may be the best time to plan and not launch. And then, when it's in the green again, at least, be ready. At that point, you should have already done all your homework and you're ready to hit the ground running.
Can I say something real quick just to piggyback off that? I didn't immediately just start a business and quit my job. Like, I started the RV park when I was living in Oklahoma City. The RV park is in Missouri, which is south of Houston, right? So I'm like 9 hours away. So what I did actually for a year, I actually switched from working days to working nights. So I worked night shift for a year so I could focus on the business throughout the daytime, right? And that's what I tell you all the time about the business. Just get on base first, man. Too many people try to hit a home run on the first pitch. Just get on base. That's it. Let it start paying a bill, or let it pay a light bill or a water bill or a car insurance, and then try to grow it. Too often we try to grow too big, too fast. And the worst thing that can happen to anyone is to succeed before they're ready because they won't know how to handle it. And so I tell people this, my philosophy is you try to make, when it comes to leaving your 9 to 5 for your entrepreneurial life, it's just you start to make your 9 to 5, it goes from your primary option to your secondary option, like Jordan said, right? I'm always going to be an engineer, right? They can't take that from me. And so now that I have that established, right, and I have my business established, I'm, focusing more on my business, but at the same time, that once primary plan is now my backup plan. So it's good. You don't just disregard your 9 to 5, right? You want to keep that, whatever skills that you have, whatever certification, whatever license, whatever you have, you want to keep those current. Now, don't ever think that life can't switch on you. You know what I mean? Like, and so I know I'm blessed, but at the same time, man, I still research. I still look at code and circuits and all that because, another Harvey could come through and wipe everything out. You know what I mean? I got to go back to the company and say, hey, here's my resume. So
I think it also just goes with being open-minded. I too had my own business, and I made the decision probably a year and a half in that needed more background. And so I always make the joke that I went and I applied and I said, I need to find a sucker who's willing to teach me the ins and outs of litigation. And I found it, but it was in Austin. And so being open-minded, and a lot of business owners I talk to about just knowing, taking time for yourself and saying, okay, I've hit my plateau and I need help, or finding your mentors or getting additional education so that you do either expand your business however to the nth power, or you say, listen, I need to put this aside for a few years, gain some more training, and then pick it back up later. And I think doing that does not mean that you're less of an entrepreneur, that your vision is all the way dead and buried. It's just, hey, to get it where I need it to be, I need something extra. And recognizing that and acknowledging that is not a bad thing. And I think a lot of times people think, I'm a business owner, I'm the leader, I don't take advice from anybody else, but maybe you need a little more advice to take it to the next level. And so being okay with that as well.
And I want to add one tip that I got, one of the best tips that I heard for business owners is you pay yourself out of the business, okay? You don't pay the business. Meaning, when you get money into the business, just because you get money doesn't mean you pay yourself more. Set yourself on a small salary so that your business can accrue enough capital to where if you do need to take a loss, you can afford to take that loss. Now, you may not be able to afford $100,000 lawsuit, but let's say you messed up someone's hair, or you had damages to, let's say you're a hairstylist and all of your products got messed up and you have to go back and buy new products and that costs you $300-400. Well, now you're not squirming and you're not scrounging and have to take out of your personal account, your personal budget, to recoup that loss when you already have money in your business. Plan to put money into your business and pay yourself out of your business. And I also tell my people, when we calculate child support, why that's important, but that's a different story. But put money into your business and pay yourself out of the business. Don't put your business profits to your personal account and then give whatever's left to the business. You don't want to do that.
So then I also my next question is, we are in a pandemic, COVID is rampant and things like that. And this is for anybody who's been a business owner on this podcast. how do you maintain your business during this pandemic? Like, how are you maintaining it? Are you experiencing any losses? Did you reach out for like, and not saying you have to get so deep and personal into trying to, get governmental grants, but even if you have some advice to businesses that are, are suffering during the pandemic, like how are you maintaining your business during this time?
I think that goes back to what Samantha said. As a business, one of the things you're supposed to do is have some put away for a rainy day. Granted, this has been an extended rainy day, but having something put away to at least help keep you afloat while you figure things out. I think too, if your business is able to go e-commerce, see what you need to do to make that transition so that you can keep income coming in. But saving, having some in the savings for your business or your business savings is super important, regardless if it was COVID or if it was Harvey or whatever.
For me, I think it's kind of twofold. I think the first part, what this does actually highlights the power of ownership, right? And I'll give an example for the coffee shop, right? When we bought the coffee shop, we bought the building, so we own the building. And so as owners now, we don't have this monthly reoccurring note over our head, right? We don't have to pay rent. And so, and I'm saying that not to brag, but since business has slowed down for everyone, right? I mean, that everyone is taking a loss. However, we still also employ people who have families. And so just being able to stay open so that our employees can make a paycheck to provide for their family has been like a blessing during this time. So I do want to highlight that in this time right now, like I think it's emphasized even more how valuable ownership is. And that's not something that we talk about too. I think understand. We talk about running a business, owning a business, but I really think there should be a emphasis on the ownership part, right? And so, but no, if for those of you who are for those of us rather who are experiencing a loss right now, you have to take advantage of those programs and opportunities that are out there. Obviously the thing is though, like I said before, Uncle Sam don't play about their coins. So if you are not a business and somebody is telling you, hey, you can get this money by pretending to be a business, I wouldn't advise. That is not sound logic. But for those business owners, man, they do have some relief funds out there and this is a part of being a business owner too. You still got to research, right? You still got to do your due diligence. So I would encourage folks to get out there. They did have the PPP, the EIDL advance that could even, and if you were credit worthy, which I'm sure y'all probably talked about before, that could even leverage that to an SBA loan, right? Which could provide additional loans at very low interest rates. And so those are some options that are out there as well.
So then what are some of like essential contacts or maybe a must need for a business owner, even to get started? Like, for instance, do you need a business lawyer, a CPA, tax attorney, or is that too soon in the beginning? Or is that something you should start with in the middle? So what are like some essential contacts?
That's from the beginning. I always tell people filing the LLCs or the corporation or whatever is the easy piece. I can file that in 5 minutes. You can probably self-file it in 5 minutes. That's the easy part. The hard part is going to be figuring out what that yearly maintenance looks like. And especially from a financial and a tax perspective, you need to talk to a CPA and a tax attorney. Talk to them first, and then we can file. So the CPA, the tax attorney, that's going to be the most important, because especially for our businesses where we tend to mess up and cause us to lose our businesses, our finances and taxes. So talk to CPAs and all that stuff from the beginning, even before you decide to file something, just to get an idea and an understanding of what this is going to look like for you and for your specific business. And,
now, Jordan.
Yes, ma'am.
Jordan, you said a tax attorney, not a tax lady who do your taxes, right?
Not a tax lady, because
not a tax man who gets you a $10,000 refund randomly.
Because he
from the heavens.
probably did something somewhere that gonna make you pay that back.
Right. But if I'm opening a business, I don't call the tax lady or the tax man, right?
I would not recommend the tax lady or tax man, just like I do not recommend LegalZoom for your filing. Yeah.
Okay.
I do not.
I just want to be clear that you said tax attorney or business attorney or CPA, because you know some clients come in, they got a tax lady, and they got to call a tax lady.
Please go to somebody who is licensed to do this for you, especially when it comes to taxes, because like AJ said, the government gonna get theirs. Correct. The IRS is not the people you want to play with. Get it.
And they're not trying to hear that your tax lady messed up on them forms.
They
don't care. Well, to bring it home full circle though, I think what makes this point so emphatic is that during this day of electronic money transfer, it is so easy when you got all these cash app sales and all that. What you don't want to do is commingle funds, right? Like, oh crap, I got to send money here, send money there. And that's why it is so important to have things structured, because even if you're doing everything out of your business account, right? But then all of a sudden you dive for your personal finance in there, they can say, well, those accounts are commingled, right? You know what I mean? So you want to really insulate yourself. And I think, again, a professional who just they have an outside perspective for things. It's just like somebody to prove, hey, can you proofread my paper? As I'm reading the sentence, I think I put the word, when I read it like I put the word "the" there. And they're like, hold up, I don't see it there. And then you go back, oh crap, it's not there. But in my mind, I read it as if it was there. I think that's the same thing with these folks. They help you with those gotchas, because I'm telling you, man, people are crafty. They look for those avenues to get you. So
AJ, what I hear you saying is also make sure you have your contracts and your paperwork reviewed, right? Like, we don't just want to print something that we found, a template.
No, exactly.
And fill in the blanks.
Yeah, like, so for example, our rental agreement, our stay agreement that we have to get signed when they come stay at the park. Like, I knew, you know, so I got a little bit of common sense, so I kind of knew what I wanted to say in it. And so after I had it formatted, I sent to our lawyer like, hey, can you legalize this? And then she was able to say, okay, hey, you can't say this. You need to reword this that way. You know what I mean? To give it the legal protections I needed. However, you know what I mean? So it's not that you just give it all over to your lawyer, but at the same time, you're like, hey, this is what I want to do. And they can help you say, hey, you can't do this or you can't do this because of these statutes, whatever the case may be. Because again, just like, you know, and I hate to, you know, with COVID, right? I'm not a doctor, right? So I'm going to listen to the medical expertise. The same thing with legal, right? You're not a lawyer, right? And how you feel and what you think, the courts don't care about that. You know what I mean? Just go to child support court. I guarantee you. They don't care about how you feel. You know what I mean? So
they may care, but that's not going to change them from doing what they need to do.
It don't change.
Well, thank y'all so much for this like great information. We're getting ready to come to the end of our show. So during this segment, this is what is called Rest Our Case. So this is something that you want to lay to rest, whether it's what we talked about or anything in general. So I'm gonna have Sam start so she can give her case, and we'll go from there. Sam, you have a rest of your case?
I do. Okay, so I don't want to seem like a pessimist when I say this, okay? But I do want to be clear on some things, okay? Everyone is not meant to be an entrepreneur, okay? Everyone is not meant to own their own business. And I say that because I see a lot of businesses that just pop up and they don't have the contracts together. They don't have the paperwork done correctly. And then on the side, you want to call me and ask me, do I have a referral? Because now you're in trouble. And here's the thing. You can have a great idea. And maybe you need a partner or someone to help you with that idea. But don't think that everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. It's okay to work for someone else sometimes. Everyone is not meant to be. Because if everybody was an entrepreneur, nobody would have any employees, period. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to do it, please do it correctly. Follow the steps that we discussed earlier.
Taria, you have a rest my case?
Yes. So when it comes to businesses, and I know it's Black Business Month, so hopefully this will be not an issue for August. Can we stop criticizing each other in the businesses in public? We spend too much time attacking each other's businesses. You don't attack Chick-fil-A when they get your order wrong, but yet you'll attack Taria's business because she got one order wrong. So why is it that we can't support each other like other ethnicities do? Why can't we give some grace like we ask God to do daily for us? And so I think we should all go back to the old adage of praise in public and criticize in private. And not saying that no one needs constructive criticism, but instead of getting on social media and blasting someone, because a lot of people did leave their 9 to 5s and this is their bread and butter and this is how they put food on the table, to bash them because of one thing, because your t-shirts didn't come in on time due to COVID. Let's not do that. Let's be better this year. So for August Black Business Month, send them a DM instead of putting them at so-and-so on your profile page.
I would say and add to that, if you have maybe a good solution to help that to be better, like bring a solution. If you're gonna provide, I guess, criticism, at least add a solution to be like, hey, you might need to, customer service was a little off. Maybe you might need to have a training to train your customer service on how to be better, something like that. So I definitely agree. Ms. Jordan.
But then we have to be open to receiving that.
True.
We have to be open to receiving.
Jordan, you have a rest your case?
I know AJ talked about ownership and how important ownership is. So from a business perspective, I will say not only is that like the storefront itself, that is your trademarks. Trademarks are my bread and butter. That is your name. That is your logo. That is your slogans. These are the things that draw your consumer to identify your business and your brand with what you do. Secure those things sooner rather than later, or you could be in a position to where you're having to rebrand entirely. So that's my 2 cents.
AJ.
Man, Taria actually took mine. That is probably my pet peeve, especially amongst our people. And I say that because I'm in a lot of the Black Facebook groups, right? Restaurants and all that, and you see just a constant stream of negativity, and then the opt out is people say, well, that we're acting as if Black businesses should be immune to criticism. And my counter argument to that is simply this, right? The fact that we have these Black groups shows that there is something, that we have to deal with that other ethnicities don't, right? And then secondly, we have confused constructive criticism with hating. You know what I mean? Because constructive criticism is meant to build and to help. But to get on someone's post and say, oh man, that food's too high, it looks nasty, like, well, that's hating, you know what I mean? And I don't even know if we really realize that. And so I think, again, man, as you said before, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. And if your $9 burger gets messed up, message the manager or the owner and give them a chance to fix it. Because what happens is we get on these platforms and we publicly bash businesses and we cost them more than the offense that was given to us. Like your $9 burger was messed up, but now you got 300 people that are not going to visit this establishment because of that. Like that's a false equivalence. That's not even fair. You know what I mean? So again, I agree with you 100%. We got to do better.
Actually went away. Well, thank y'all so much for definitely thank you so much for being on our show. Jordan, please tell everybody where they can follow you.
Sorry, I was muted. Social media is probably the easiest for me. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at JOVANT_GARDE. That's Jovant Guard. No, Jovant is not my government name. So you just call me Jordan, or you can call me Joe. But I'm on Instagram and Twitter under both handles. Under the same handle.
And Anthony, where can we follow you and your wife and your many businesses so we can learn about RV parking and coffees and stuff like that?
So you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram for the coffee shop at Dark Roast Co. at the end, CO. And then for the RV park, you can find us on Facebook at Triple RV and Instagram at Triple.RV Park.
And Samantha, where can we follow? Are we following you today?
You know what? You guys can follow me to the RV park and the coffee shop. I'm gonna come visit. Give me a hot cup of Joe.
Yeah, come on through. Hey, real quick, shameless plug. Listen, due to COVID, man, we actually have an app, so you don't even have to come inside. We'll bring it out to you. We got an app for that.
That's
That's
good.
awesome.
I definitely will. And Taria, where can are they we following today?
You can, but let me go ahead and criticize. Okay, AT&T. This is
not black owned.
It's not black owned. I don't think.
Right. We can criticize AT&T.
Yeah.
Oh, AT&T.
Where's your grace, Taria? Where's your grace?
Not today. With my grace with my bill that got paid. Okay, so I'm with AT&T and let them explain why I can't get good technology, even though I just paid them and it got there and it cleared on time. Okay, no. If you want to see what happens with my AT&T conversation, follow me on Instagram. It's simply being T, and I'll tell you how to professionally get everything you need.
Y'all, please follow that story. Make sure she stays professional and covered in the Holy Spirit when she's talking to those people.
I want to always. Well, as always, thank y'all so much for being here. It was a great show. Learned a lot. We continue to follow us on Instagram and No Further Q. I just lost my train of thought. No Further Q, on Facebook, No Further Questions, and on Twitter, NFQ Pod. Like I said, this is our anniversary month. We're highlighting Black businesses as well. We're gonna do a giveaway at the end of the month. So hang out with us for the month and help us celebrate our 1-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Y'all later. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you guys have any Black businesses, you can DM us.
Yep, DM us or hit us up on Facebook and let us know, or even in the comments. Definitely let us know if you want to highlight your favorite Black business. And it doesn't have to be in the Houston, Dallas area. It doesn't have to be in Texas. It can be anywhere in the States.
We're doing all over. And this month we have some great businesses in store, even non-traditional businesses.
Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.